Hello and welcome to another fabulous episode of Chatter 15 Minutes of Fame. I'm one of your hosts, Claron Sharif, and of course, my fabulous host, Danielle Ward. We are super excited today because we have a very, very special guest, Springfield's very own Kim Conner, filmmaker, director, owner of Predestined Entertainment Arts. Is that correct, Kim?
Predestined Arts and Entertainment. Yep.
Yes. So she is here today with us, and we are going to get down to the nitty gritty and ask her some questions. So join us on this fabulous ride. Are we ready?
Yes, we are ready.
All right.
All right.
So, Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in the film industry.
Okay. I want to say thank you first for having me on. I appreciate you thinking of me and inviting me on the show. So, a
Absolutely.
little bit about me. I'm from a small town in central Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, born and raised. But I moved to Springfield later on, and that's kind of where I actually got involved more into actual film. But I started off as a camera operator. Like a lot of people say, I started off in the church. I really started off in the church as a camera operator, but that gave me uh, great experience in terms of what happens when you get on the set and being able to, because if you've ever been to like a black church, if you ever have to follow like a black pastor, they move around a lot.
Yeah.
So as a camera operator, you really get a good grasp on how to handle the camera, the kind of shots that you want, simply by just learning and being able to follow and keep the pastor in the frame. So I kind of started off like that. I started off just helping with I guess the TV ministry is what we called it at that time.
Okay.
And from that point, I started doing like I was camera operator for like several like stage plays in the Springfield area, and then I started doing events. I was a camera operator for events like annual like the MLK breakfast. I did that a couple years. Kind of got some more experience there. We did an NAACP event as a camera operator, and so that kind of gave me like the training ground when I thought about like actually doing my own film. That I kind of
Yeah.
had a handle on some of the cameras, what some of the lenses could do. So that kind of was my training ground. And I shot my first film in Springfield in 2009. So yeah, that was a 38-minute short called This Life Ain't Pretty. And yeah, so I to date I shot 4 films there so far. Yeah,
Okay.
4 films. Yeah. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's a little bit about me.
That's an extensive background. Impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know that you started off as a camera operator.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh,
didn't?
I did not. I was like, how did they get by me? Yeah, nope, I did not know. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Well, I know in Before I Do, you were the corner where you're like zipping up the bag.
Yeah.
So do you have any kind of unique signature or trademark that you use in your film? Kind of like, you know, other directors, Spike Lee and things like that, camera movements or anything that you would consider your signature.
You know what? I feel like I'm still developing my signature.
Okay.
What I've noticed about my films is I typically like films that have a strong female lead. I don't like really showing women being weak. So I
Mm.
like to show, women being strong. I like to have a black woman at the forefront of the majority of my projects. So for me, I feel like that's still being developed. That's still being developed.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the casting couch has been a controversial and dark aspect of the industry. What are your thoughts on the issue, and how do you think the industry can better protect actors and creators?
I definitely think that the casting couch is real. I've talked to actors that have been subjected to that. What I
Mm.
think is happening right now in the industry, I think is very good in terms of like the Me Too movement, because that has really opened the door to a lot of the things that are happening that people aren't talking about in Hollywood.
Right.
So I think, with them sending people like Weinstein Bill Cosby, people that are Kelly, now it's getting ready to be P. Diddy, people that are violating women. I mean, I think we're at a time now, it's no longer, it's not accepted. It's not accepted. We're not tolerating it. So I
Mhm.
think now is a time where maybe actors feel more comfortable speaking on it if they're
Mhm.
subjected to it. Whereas in, maybe 10 years ago, they wouldn't have felt like they had that protection. Now you have some protection, I think, if you need to speak out, and voice, your concerns about something like that. But I definitely think it's real. I definitely do. I talked to an actor that had a pretty big role in one of Spike Lee's films, and she kind of talked about it on one of the panels that I saw her on. We
Mhm.
After that film, we didn't see her anymore. And she did not say, and in no way am I saying that Spike Lee offended her any, but somewhere in her process, in her career, she was subjected to that. And I know that after that particular film, we don't see her anymore.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, there's like you're starting to see her now in like smaller like independent films, but she talked about the casting couch and her experience. I can't say that I have been subjected to that in my particular role, but I definitely believe that it's real. I definitely believe that actors have been subjected to it, and probably still are, but hopefully,
Yeah.
with them making some examples out of some of the people that are victimizing people in the industry. Hopefully that sets an example and improves the conditions, and I know now too they have what's the word where like you have if you have a sex scene, they have a coordinator come in, and I can't think of the term for that now, just to
Yeah.
make sure that everyone is comfortable, with what's happening in the scene, which I think is great. And both you guys are actors, so maybe you can think of the term that I'm referring to.
I know what you're talking about. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I know
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Intimacy
Yeah.
Yeah, so
coordinator.
I think that gives some protection,
Mhm.
which I think is good. I think that we still have a lot of work left to do, but I think that's a start.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, since you are also a Virgo, Virgo Nation, um,
Hey.
hey,
Still celebrating this month too. I'm still
Yes.
yes,
celebrating my month.
Yes.
yes, we rule the world. But
Yes.
what kind of pet peeves do you have as a director? What are some of your pet peeves?
Okay. People showing up late
Mm.
and not knowing their lines. So basically just not being prepared. People showing up, and that can be cast, that could be crew, just people that show up to a set and that are not on time, that are not prepared. That's a pet peeve for mine, because for me, because time is money. So, if the DP is an hour late getting to the set, all of these other people are waiting, and which is inconsiderate, and all of these people have to be paid while they're waiting. So that's my pet peeve. Be prepared and be on time. I don't think that's a lot to ask.
Nope.
No, it's not. It's not.
I consider it a huge disrespect.
Yeah.
I do.
Mhm.
I see it as a huge disrespect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just feel like it shouldn't be tolerated. It's inconsiderate to the other cast members. You know, Time is money. And people should just be respectful of everybody, on set. Just because you number one on the call sheet doesn't give you the right to show up late or to show up and not be prepared.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard of a lot of one in particular, Lindsay Lohan. Sorry, Lindsay. She was notorious for that, and she's an excellent actress. But
Hmm.
she had a lot going on, but that ain't got nothing to do with what's going on the set.
Right.
That's work. So, okay. So the next question is NDAs, for our audience. That is non-disclosure agreement. NDAs are common in the industry. What specific reasons or experiences have led you to make it a standard practice?
Okay, I think it's for protection. I think it's to protect both parties. You want to protect your work if you're sharing it with someone, but then at the same time, you both sides. I think the NDAs are a way to protect both sides. You know, you can protect your ideas and your material. I just think it's a form of protection. And I think that that hasn't been something that I've actually experienced, but I've heard stories about people who've had their ideas stolen, you know, things like that. You know, I guess that's a real thing. You know, people do steal ideas and things like that. So I think it's important, you know, to have the NDA in place just for everybody's protection.
Okay. Yeah.
So, having completed Lipstick, which is your fifth film,
Yes.
your fifth film, what's something that surprised you or shocked you that you weren't prepared for when you first started filmmaking?
Okay. So this was my first time filming in LA. So I wasn't fully prepared for uh the cost of the permits and how
Mm.
many permits I would be required to have. That was a shock. And then I could say too, on the back end, after the film was finished, one of the biggest, I guess you could say, surprises or shocks were how the industry has evolved in just that short period of time. And like we're talking 12 to 18 months, you know, you have a lot of these studios laying off people in the acquisitions departments and people in the diversity divisions. So I wasn't really prepared for that because had this film been finished 18 months ago, we probably wouldn't be facing the same challenges that we're facing now, which is, I guess, like a oversaturation of material, which I don't necessarily agree with that because when I sit down to watch, even with all the streaming platforms we have, I still sometimes have trouble finding stuff to watch.
Yeah.
So to say that there's an oversaturation, I don't think that that's true. I don't think they're getting uh, uh, all of the material out there that should be out there. I think that there may be, you know, there's material that should be shown from independent filmmakers and people that haven't gotten in, you know, that opportunity to actually have their work shown. I think that there needs to be more opportunities uh for filmmakers and producers, directors to be able to do that. And I just don't feel like with the industry the way that it's changing. So you still have platforms that are interested in your work and they want it, but they don't want to pay you
Mm.
what it's worth. They don't want to pay you what it's worth. And that is something that was a shock to me when I finished the film. Some of the offers, you know, that I've gotten, you know, are much lower than anticipated. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like I said, the shift in the industry with the streamers and then all the strikes and just all of those things. The industry is changing.
Yeah. Okay. And you know what? You reminded me about the bell, so I'm gonna take a second and hit your bell. I need people to put it in the comments to ring that damn bell. I just. Okay, next question. As a female director, have you observed any disparities in how male and female directors are treated, especially in terms of access to resources and opportunities within the industry?
Most definitely, in terms of opportunities, for sure. You know, as I had mentioned, like a lot of the diversity heads have been let go. So if you don't have anyone in there saying you need to hire women or you need to hire Black women, it's not going to happen. So I feel like that is problematic in the fact that they've let a lot of those people go. But definitely, yeah, I definitely do feel that I'm challenged more. I feel like I'm challenged more as a female director. I definitely do. And I say that too because I've had experiences uh with a particular editor that did not treat me the way that he treated my male counterparts.
Oh.
So definitely, yeah, I definitely think that there are some differences. I can't really say so in terms of like the resources, but definitely opportunities. Definitely opportunities. I
Okay.
mean, the opportunities, you know, it is a male dominated industry and is ran primarily by white males. So yeah, that hasn't changed. We still have a whole lot of work to do, I think, in those areas. I think we have a lot of work to do in letting people go that, were put in place to ensure that these things are happening, I think is a huge mistake.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed. So because I am a conspiracy theorist at heart, so there's a lot of speculation about elite groups like the Illuminati and other secret societies that control the media and images that we see. What is your take on these societies, secret societies, and how much influence do you believe that they have in the industry, if you believe them?
Okay, so I don't know that I would necessarily call it the Illuminati, but do I think that there are spiritual forces that are impacting the media and the images we see? Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I just think when you listen to the music and you listen to the lyrics,
Mhm.
there's something beneath all of that, you know? So yeah, I definitely do believe that there are spiritual forces that are, yeah, because I mean, even if you go back to like the Bible, the
Mhm.
minister of music. So that tells me right there, yeah, that potential to impact the music and our images and the media. I definitely think that is a factor. What I would call it, I think it could probably be multiple names, but in my opinion, yeah, there's definitely some spiritual factors I think that are working within the media. And then I mean, like, even if we look at the situation right now with our upcoming election, for us to be where we are, for a person that has shown himself to be a racist, he is violating women. He's made fun of people with disabilities. I mean, we know this. Yet this person is running for president when he should actually be behind bars. So that tells me, yeah, there's some forces that are acting and that aren't acting for our good. And to me, that is a prime example for someone of his character to even be on the ballot.
Mhm.
In my opinion, tells me there's some darker forces working against us.
Yeah.
For this to even be an option.
Mhm.
And there's still people following him, but I'm definitely not going to use this time to give him I'm not going to spend our time on him. But I'm just making a point that, yeah, I definitely think that there are some outside, forces that are working against us,
It
even when it comes down to the upcoming election. Yeah.
it feels like it's like the upside down, like
Mhm.
everything that we're being told is like the opposite, and like when you're talking about the minister of music in the Bible and everything, music carries certain frequencies and our brains and our bodies respond to those frequencies, and we're not necessarily conscious of it, but those frequencies settle into our cellular, into our bodies, and we think and act based upon those, and we don't even know, we might be depressed. Nothing's wrong, but because we're listening to music with certain frequencies,
Yeah.
you know yeah.
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 Definitely. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So next question. When creative differences arise on set, how do you navigate those situations to keep the project moving forward while maintaining a positive environment?
I do think that is very, very important. I think that the director sets the tone for what happens on set. So I think it's very important that hold on. I'm sorry. Oh, communication. Communication, I think, is the best option. I think that is if there are difficulties, if there are challenges, I think communication is number one. I think that when you see maybe an actor on set and they're not happy, I think that's important to find out what is going on with them. Is there something that happened before they got to set? Or is there something that happened, once they arrived? It's something that we can address. I just think that in any relationship, I feel like communication is the key. Communication, I feel like, is the key. That's number one. If there any type of challenges or difficulties, I think it starts with communication. And I think it's important to maybe get one-on-one with the actor or the DP or whoever is experiencing the challenge
Mm-hmm.
to get one-on-one with them and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's important too that to have an open door policy so people feel comfortable
Yeah.
coming to you.
Yeah.
Because I think anybody on set could come up with a great idea
Mhm.
from your PA, it doesn't matter. And I feel like being open um, to that idea, I think make for a better production, make for a better project by
Mhm.
just simply being willing to listen. I don't think that a director should go to set and feel like, yeah, this is my set and I don't, you don't have to listen to anybody. I think you do. A big part of directing is listening.
Yeah.
That's probably, I don't know, 50% of the job is listening, to
Mhm.
being, open and being receptive to other ideas and feedback, I think is important.
Okay. I
Okay.
think you actually kind of answered the next question I was going to ask.
Okay.
But it's how do you approach collaboration with your crew and your cast to make sure that your vision is realized while also incorporating their ideas and talents and things? Um, have you?
Okay. I think for me, it's important to, a lot of that I think happens in prep
Mm,
and pre-production.
mhm,
I think that's the time to get with your DP, to go over a shot list, put that together, to if you can get them to the locations to so that they can see the locations. I just think the more you can prepare beforehand, the better. It just eliminates a lot of questions on set. It saves some time. So I think for me, it's just the work that goes into prep before we even start filming, developing those relationships. Like I had mentioned, so this film was shot in LA. So this was my first time working with all these people, the crew and the actors as well. So I made a point to go out there and spend some time with them before we started filming. So it wouldn't be like, okay, we're just meeting day one. And, we talked
Mhm.
on the phone and we've done Zoom. I just feel like it's important to make that organic connection.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot in terms of, how things will flow and just being prepared and working with them, I think in advance and uh just getting as prepared as you possibly can. And I think, communicating with your team beforehand, to me, I think is the best way to do that. Did that answer the question?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I never thought about that meeting with the cast in advance. That's would be essential. I would think that would be essential. So, okay.
I think it kind of helps with the dynamics, everybody feels, I think, more comfortable as opposed to just, oh, we just show up here on this day, we're meeting for the first time. Especially like if you have people that are going to be like in an intimacy type situation in the project. I think you
Mhm.
want people to feel comfortable. And I think the earlier you can get people involved, the better. So what we did on Lipstick, we did a table read. It was all through Zoom, but it was still a way to kind of get people to get familiar. We didn't make it like a mandatory thing. People, if you want to join and kind of get to know people beforehand, we made that option available. So, yeah.
For those looking to break into the film industry, especially in roles like directing and producing, what advice would you give based on your own experiences?
I would say just do it. I would say read everything that you can read about the subject. I would say if there's a way for you to get on set, because you can learn a lot just by observing, I think is important to do. I mean, especially now, because you got people shooting entire features on iPhones. I can't even imagine that. But there are people that are doing it because I'm reading about it. So I say use the resources that you have available,
Mhm.
and the community that you have. Like you two have developed a community. So I think working with the people that you know, kind of developing that community, I think is important, in terms of just kind of learning the process and what it is that you do as a writer or as a director, producer. Yeah, my advice would be just to do it, to read everything that you can, um, to also work with the people within your community. And I heard other people say this, and it didn't really make sense at the time, but I've heard people say network basically on with people that are on the same level or similar to where you are, and you
Yeah.
can work with them and grow together and build together. Because I think starting out, we think that, oh, I've got to get to this person, or I've got to get to that person, I've got to get to this level. When I think we have to work with the resources and the people that we have around us now, and kind of build from there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I learned about getting to know directors. Just don't snuggle up to the director to get a part. Get to know them, befriend them, support them, which makes a lot of sense. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. It reminds me, so it was a situation, and it kind of goes along with how you prepare for things that you may not be prepared for. So and it was my lead actress. She had a death in the family.
Mm.
So she came to me and she said, I just need a minute. I just need a minute. Before I can go out here, I just need a minute. So I asked her, can I hug you? Because she was upset.
Yeah.
And she was okay with that. And I was able to give her 15 minutes to collect herself and to just work through her process. And at the time, I didn't think much of it. I mean, it felt like the human thing to do to me.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
But at the end of us filming that day, she came up and she thanked me, and she was like, she just basically thanked me for giving her those few minutes to be by herself and kind of collect herself. And then I
Mhm.
said, well, what kind of person would I be to not allow you to do that? And she said, you would be a Hollywood director.
Oh.
Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. But it just, and she was, I took that as a compliment in the sense that I'm still a human.
Yeah.
It's not all about the clock. It's not all about the money, but here, in a lot of places and situations in LA, it's like, you got to run on time. Which time is important. I'm not saying that it's not, but I feel like sometimes there's situations like that can arise, and you have to make, accommodations for that. And
Mhm.
I think that actually solidified our relationship, I would say, by
Yeah.
just simply putting myself in her place and thinking, well, how would I feel? How would I want someone to treat me in this moment?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, well, you got to be on set. No, it wasn't like that. It was like, do what you need to do. I'll be back, and it worked out well. When
Yeah.
the time was up, she was ready to go.
Yeah.
And,
You-
so I just think that it's important to try to maintain that. And that's one of the things that I think, coming from the Midwest, I take that with me, that mentality, and just, we're not the same. Like, we're not the same as the people in LA. We're not, we're not the same. And so I try to take that and hope that, it makes for a better situation, a better set to actually treat people like humans and not like cattle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Um, can you share a behind the scenes moment from one of your films that either challenged you or something that you considered extremely rewarding?
Okay, I'll start with the rewarding.
Okay.
So to me, I think the biggest reward in the world is to sit in the audience with your peers, with people that support you and what you do, and to watch them experience the film. To me, that's the most rewarding. One of my most rewarding moments was when we screened Before I Do. And this was before COVID, so people weren't really like afraid to come to the theater. You know, we packed that joint out. We sold every seat in the building, 450 seats. So that, like, I will always hold that moment close to my heart because it was special. I mean, but every screening that I've done, involves the people that I love, the people that I love working with, and that's important to me. That's important, just to keep creating and being around the people that support you. And I would say that's the most rewarding thing that I've experienced. Those are some of the most rewarding experiences. But I have had challenges. I have had a challenge where basically, and Danielle, you were here for that, I think. We were filming at my house. That was one of the locations, and one actress in particular, I had to leave. Basically, I had to walk away from my house, my home, to avoid a conflict with this particular actor, which I later found out I don't think it had anything at all to do with me. It was some other things going on that I found out later on that were happening. But regardless, I had to walk away. I had to leave the set basically to, allow us both, I guess. I won't really say that I was upset, but it's more or less to uh, avoid a situation. And I would say that was probably my biggest challenge, having to walk off the set to avoid, a conflict with one of the actors. And that was an isolated incident. I hope and pray that it never happens again. But when asked about a conflict or something like that that occurred, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, because I've never experienced that before.
Wow. Oh, you just never know.
Because I got to stay, you know what I mean? I have to stay in a professional mindset. Like, I can't get on someone's level that wants to fight me. Like, I can't do that because I'm a professional first, and the movie turned out fine. It turned out great. But it's just, yeah, that was something that I experienced that was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I was thinking, trying to avoid a beat down.
Because I can't have that out here. I can't.
Right.
I can't have that out here.
You're like, Kim be fighting people.
Oh, she fighting, she beating up the cast. I can't. I'd rather them say she walked away, than
Yeah.
say I'm out here duking it
On
out.
them hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, we all have our limitations.
Yes.
Everybody has a limit.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So our last question. The film industry can be demanding and exhausting. What keeps you inspired and motivated to continue creating?
I think spirituality is important to me. That I think is first and foremost in terms of what keeps me going, because there are days where I look at situations and I think, why am I doing this? Because I just don't feel like I'm getting where I want to go, or I'm making, opening doors that I had hoped to open. But at the same time, it keeps me grounded. It's why I don't give up. Even when it's tough, I just try to hold on to my faith. I try to look back at things that he's done for me in the past, things that I've struggled with, things that I've prayed over. And even when it comes down to these films, I look at how he has shown himself to be faithful in those situations. So I have to just recall his faithfulness and just hold on to that, because there's some days that's all I have. Some days that's it. I have nothing else. So that's a big part of it. But I think too, it's just the desire to tell these stories, the desire to tell the stories that I feel like are not being told, the stories that we want to see. you know, so that's a motivation for me, you know, because I feel like if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? So to me, that's no matter how hard it gets, to me, that's motivation to keep going, because it has to happen. It has to be done. And they're not rolling out the carpet for us. They're not giving us those opportunities. We have to create our own opportunities. That's kind of, you know, what I've had to do, and a lot of the other filmmakers that I know are kind of just learning and as we go and creating and just, you know, just trying to figure out how to pivot with the changes that are happening in the industry currently, and just how do we continue to do what we love? How do we get our, you know, reach our audiences? And right now we're in a situation where we have to be, we're heavily dependent upon the streamers, and you know, we're heavily dependent upon the distributors. And I'm like, there has to be another way. You know, there has to be another way. They still want the material, but then they don't want to give you what you know is it's worth. You know, so that's a trip. That's a challenge. You know, but I think at the end of the day, and this kind of goes along with that motivation, is believing in yourself and believing in the work that you do when nobody else does, when you're not getting, you know, the pat on the back, when you're not getting in the festivals, you have to keep believing it. You know, you just have to keep believing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that concludes our interview. I'm going to have Danielle bring us home, but I want to say my famous line.
Okay.
We didn't have no Kim Conner money. We are sure glad you came on this here show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I was so excited when Danielle contacted me and asked me to be on the show. I'm just excited, and I'm thankful to you guys, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing it.
So let me ring my bell before we go off.
Before I close us out, and I know I've mentioned this before on a previous episode, but Kim gave me she cast me in my very first role in her first film. And I tell you what, it was 2009. And from that moment on, it stirred something up inside of me that I didn't even know was there. But it made sense because I had been having dreams prior to that about film and acting and everything, and I just thought they were dreams, but I didn't know it was just like foresight into the future. I just want to say thank you, Kim, for being part of my journey and for casting me when I went in there with that big old afro and that big head.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Danielle, for being there for 3 films. I thank you. But I'm telling you, and I tell people about this audition, she stepped outside the box. Like, she done something that would catch my attention. The wig, it caught my attention. And I'm like, I like her. You know, just because you weren't afraid. I know you later on you said that you might have been a little bit, but I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell that you were nervous. She sold me on the audition. And it's just, you know, the rest is history. I love working with you. I'm thankful for you. And I consider you a friend and a blessing to my life.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
Same. I feel the exact same way.
Thank you.
And on that note, we want to say bye to our audience, and we are going to leave Kim's information, website, and social handles in the description box. And we just want to say have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on another episode.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.